The storEDGE importer template is an Excel spreadsheet that you will be sent by an implementation specialist that will allow you to enter your units, tenants, and ledger balances from any previous software and have that information come over into the storEDGE FMS. When you first double click on the storEDGE importer template, you will see a welcome message, which I'll read out. It says, "Welcome to storEDGE. This is the second of 2 documents we need from you to set up your facility. The first was the storEDGE settings document, which you will also be sent, relating to whether you are first of the month, what is your tax rate, among other setting options. This is the storEDGE import document. Through this document, you will assemble your tenant and unit data in a format that will allow us to import into your storEDGE account. On the next page of this document, you will find the table we need you to complete. For each tenant, add a line to the table making an effort to add data to every column. For each vacant unit, add a line to the table with just the unit details. Fill out each cell to the best of your ability. Any column with a red heading is required before we can begin importing your data into storEDGE. Be sure to have data entered into these columns. If there's information that you're either unsure about or do not have, leave the cell blank. We can always clarify these questions in follow-up conversations. When you complete this document, save it and email it to onboarding@storable.com. Once you've read this section, you will click the button that says click here to get started. Then it will take you to the next tab. You'll notice at the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet, there's 3 tabs. Home, which is where we were just at. Import data, which is where you are going to fill out your information, and then help. It's very important to look at the help section because it will go over every single column, what it is, what it represents, along with different examples of what you can put into each of those fields. It also says here, for additional help, certainly call this number 913-954-4745 or reach out to your implementation person. So the majority of the time, you are going to be focusing on this import data section. The red columns, this is what has to be filled out. If you are a brand new facility in that you don't have previous customers, you only have to fill out your unit information. If you are an existing facility with current customers from a previous software, it's important to try and put in as much information as possible. The more information that you have in the non-required fields, the better or more full the data is going to be in the storEDGE FMS software. Another extremely important point with this is that you must have the right format for each column that it states in the help section. So for example, if we were looking at unit number and we click on help, it says unit number must be text format. So one common problem or challenge that we may have on the implementation side is that someone may have an Excel spreadsheet prior to this or reports, and they're copying and pasting data from another Excel spreadsheet or from reports into this spreadsheet. That will cause challenges and create an increased time frame to complete this conversion process if we have the wrong formats. So again, if you are copying information from an Excel spreadsheet, if we are taking over unit number, make sure the Excel spreadsheet that you're copying from has that column as typed text. If we're bringing over standard rate, for example, if we go back to import data, standard rate's column D. If we go to help, we see that standard rate must be in a number format. So even though in your Excel document, potentially that you're copying from, you may be copying over the quote unquote number for the standard rate, but if that field was text in that previous document, that could cause challenges. So please be aware of that. If you are not copying data from another spreadsheet or report, you could also type in that information into each column yourself. And the columns that are here are of the types that the storEDGE platform needs. Again, I want to reiterate that for each column, take the time to go to the help to see what the format is that you need, along with the description of what each column or field represents. I also want to mention a few instances that people may have questions about. The first item is paid through date, which is column BF. With paid through date, it's important to make the distinction between paid through and paid to. So for example, If you bill someone on the first of the month, and let's say that the month is December, and this person has paid for the month of December, the date that you would want to show for BF would be December 31st. You would not want to show January 1st. It's not looking at the paid to date, it's looking at the paid through date. So it's very important. If your anniversary date billing, same thing. What is the day before the next day that they're charged? So if they're due on the first of the month, the paid through date would be the day before. If they're due on the 6th of the month and they've paid up, their paid through date would be the 5th, the day before. The next column is rent balance, column BK. If someone is paid through the end of the month, in this case December, if they paid for the month, your rent balance is 0. The only time you would put something in this column is if they owe you money. So for example, if their rent is $100 for December and they paid 70 of it, they still owe you 30 for December. In that case, the paid through date would be 11/30 because they've not paid fully for December, and their rent balance would be 30. That's an example of when you would put in a balance. For the notes columns, in columns CC and CD, you can put in historical notes. We recommend only going back 3 months if you want to put in historical notes. If someone's paid up, you may not want to even put in a note. But if someone potentially is going to auction, or if there's someone that you are concerned about and you want to make notations, put it in the notes fields. There is a 2,500 character limit per each field, so please be aware of that. The next item to highlight is column BE, rent rate. This is the rent that the tenant is actually being charged. If the unit normally is charged $100, but they're being charged $80 every month, their rent rate is $80. That's different than standard rate in column D. So if the unit normally goes for 100, the standard rate would be 100. But if this customer is being charged $80 every month, you're going to put $80 as their rent rate. Don't make a distinction in terms of discounts. If they have 1 month free or they're getting some kind of other temporary discount, you won't need to put that in this document. Solely focus on what is their standard rate, which is what the unit normally goes for, or if this person moved out, what the next person would be charged, in this example 100, and what is the rental rate? What is it that they're actually being charged every month, in this example 80. It's very important that you fill in as many columns as possible. Reach out to your implementation specialist if you have any questions or concerns about any of the data, and then also take the time to look at the help screen for each of the columns so that you know that you have the appropriate format. If you're taking it from another document, look at the description, which explains what each field represents, and then also the examples so that you can see what is expected for the given data. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to your implementation contact or calling us at 913-954-4745. I wanted to also show an example of what it would look like in your spreadsheet. So we have a few examples here. You'll notice the unit number, we have an alphanumeric. If yours is just numbers, that's fine also. Here we have the type. In this case, we have self-storage and parking. Rentable being a yes or no. The standard rate, which is what the unit normally goes for. In this case, we have 50, 100, 150. What is the width, length, and height of the units? If you don't want to put in a height, put 0. What floor number you have. Notice in column H, we don't have a floor number for several of the unit types. Obviously, for parking, you don't have a floor number. So put in the data that's relevant for each respective row. We're not putting in a walkthrough order, although we could in this case. What are our amenities? 1 and 2. Again, you don't have to necessarily fill out every single column. It's up to you. Is it tax applicable? Yes or no? Y or N? What is the first name? Last name? You'll notice for A1, there is no first and last name. That's because in this example, we're using the business name as the tenant name. You can scroll down. Do we have email addresses? Phone number? What is the address? City, state, zip, country. Is there an alternate contact? I put in that information. We scroll down. Do we have a driver's license expiration date that we want to put in? Do we email invoices? Yes or no? Notice again, there are some columns that are in red that need to be filled out. Gate access code, move-in date, rental rate. The rental rate is what they're actually being charged, not what the unit normally goes for, which could be different. Also focus in on the paid through date. 11/30 means they're paid until the end of November. In this particular case, this person owes for December. They owe $100 in rent balance, so we're going to put that amount here. Another person is paid through the end of January. Another person is paid through the end of March. Do we have a security deposit? When are they invoiced? And do we have a prepay balance? So if this person is paid into the future, we're going to put a prepay balance here. They're prepaid 2 months. They don't owe for February and March, so we're going to have their prepaid balance of $300, which is 2 times 150. Is someone military? We could put that in if we want to. And then our notes. Please look at the help for any questions on the particular columns, and or reach out to your implementation specialist for any questions on any of the fields.